A man I've known a long time called me recently. I don't think I've ever talked to him on the phone. And I could tell from his voice that he was kind of struggling. So I said, I don't know about you, but I think these days are really hard. And he started crying. And he said, I can't see my mom at the nursing home anymore because it's closed, and I don't get to see my grandkids because of COVID-19. He said, I'm not sure I even know what I'm supposed to do anymore. What are you having to live without these days? If I ask people what they're having to let go of, to learn to live without, I bet I get 1,000 answers. Big or small, we've all had to let go of a lot to learn to live without things we often took for granted. Forgive me for being the bearer of bad news, but there are many more letting goes still to come. There are, of course, the regular, everyday things that visit all of us on life's journeys. There are those which come with every election year when many people have to live without their preferred political candidate living. But this year, something else. The continuing effects of this pandemic have changed so much. I mean, we've already experienced so many letting goes because of it, and soon we'll face more with things like plans for Thanksgiving, our Christmas, and beyond. There's a lot that we're having to learn to live without these days. The question is, how are you doing with that? I mean, no one likes the countless letting goes. It's not fun. We get discouraged, aggravated, tired of it all, scared. Some people worry about their mental health. I mean, we try, and no one does this perfectly. But if you are trying to lean into it all and learn to let go graciously, if you are trying to learn to live without, while still keeping a generous spirit and maybe a sense of humor, if you are trying to keep an eye out for others who are particularly hurting along the way, Jesus has something to say to you today. He says, blessed are you, for yours is the kingdom of heaven. Today is the Feast of All Saints. The saints of every age vary greatly in temperament, race, way of life, but they all have one thing in common. They all learned to live without. And on their feast, the church intentionally gives us this gospel with what we've come to call the Beatitudes. The Beatitudes are all about learning to live without. Both those things that life strips from us and the freely chosen relinquishments that are at the heart of love. And Jesus says, blessed are you because learning to let go, learning to live without, this is the stuff of soul making. And therefore, this is the stuff of saint making. For us to know fullness of life in the world beyond this world, we have to do a lot of letting go, a lot of learning to live without. And if we've learned that skill of living without, then when the time of our death comes, it will be much more peaceful for us. But this is not just for the end of our days on earth. It is what Jesus already calls blessed. And as we learn to live without, we experience life and life more abundantly now. You see, we let go of much, but that helps us see more clearly that which remains. As we learn to live without some of the other stuff that which usually kind of grabs our attention, we more easily get to that place inside ourselves where we are both ourselves and more than ourselves, where we know we have what we need in here, where we are safe and seen and loved and not alone. We let go of much, but the core of who we are grows more alive in us. And this is what we bring into the life beyond what we can see. This learning to live without is a lifelong calling. I'm not sure it gets easier. Every time, for example, that I've left a parish to which I was assigned, I have sobbed all the way to the next one. As Anne Lamott said, everything I let go of has claw marks on it. And it is certainly right to grieve. But I have come to trust, and I think we all learn this if we keep doing our spiritual work, that this learning to live without is what deepens the best in us. And it comes with this unfailing promise that there is always life and love waiting for us on the other side of this letting go. And that's why on this Feast of All Saints, as we do our best to learn to live without, Jesus would say to us what he said to all those who have gone before us, who have lived and loved well. Blessed are you now and at the hour of your death. So, how are you doing learning to live without these days?